Or this time at the Quick Speed Shop, I'm building a hot rod. I'm working on the 1940 Mercury. I need something to cut some 18 gauge sheet metal. So I went to Harbor Freight and I bought this 18 gauge sheet metal shear, and we're going to open it up and see how it works. I'm a professional, don't try this at home. Okay, thanks for checking out my channel. I do hot rod builds, Jeep builds, truck builds, restorations, fabrication, and I needed something to cut some 18 gauge sheet metal. I usually use pneumatic air shears, but they're getting kind of dull, and I'm in a pinch, so I went out and I bought the cheapest tool I could find that was easiest to get. It's the Chicago Electric $36 shear from Harbor Freight. You guys can go and buy one, you know, a store. They got them in the store online. I got it $36. We're going to open her up and see how it does cutting this 18 gauge sheet metal I've got right here. Alright, so I just went and I picked this up at my local Harbor Freight, right on the shelf. Let's see what we get here. Got an instructional book. Here we go, we got the tool right in a bag. And obviously this is made in China. Cheap cutter made in China. Not big on made in China junk, but we're going to give her a whirl right here and see how it works. Got some Allen screws, got the directions. But here's the tool here. Look at that. It's got an on and off switch up top here. Now how this works is it's got a set of jaws right here, and the jaws go up and down when you plug it in. They give you a couple Allen wrenches. You got, looks like you got Allen wrench to hold the jaws in, to hold the cutter in, which you apparently can adjust to set your tension on it here. Now it doesn't look like it comes with a set of replacement jaws, so apparently you might be able to, I'm not sure where they say you can get those or not. I would assume that Harbor Freight would have them, but who knows. What we got here, where it's safety, got destructions. Okay, apparently it doesn't come with blades, but you can sharpen them, gives you tips for sharpening the blades. Alright. Then you get your parts list and instructions. So it says for 18 gauge, you take the thickness of material divided by 5, and it's in millimeters, so 18 gauge is 1.2 millimeters divided by 5 would be 0.24 millimeters. You're supposed to check it with a feeler gauge between your jaws right here, which those appear to be almost touching. I don't have a set of feeler gauges that are metric. I have some gauges. Let me go get that. We'll check this real fast. My feeler gauge is out. I actually do have metric reading on there. So it's supposed to be about 0.24 millimeters. I've got 0.229 millimeters, which is 9 thousandths. That's close enough for what we're doing. So I'm just going to stick this shim in here. Try to use a feeler gauge to figure it out. It appears to be a little bit tight. So good thing we checked that. We'll bust out our little Allen wrench set here out of the packet. Now you got a set screw here. You're going to have to loosen up the set screw. Back that off, and then you use the bigger screw to back off the blade tension. Now I can use the feeler gauges and get right down in here. There we go. Move the cutter back with the gauge. I'm going to leave the gauge hanging right in there. I'm going to tighten this right back down. So I take my feeler gauge and I'm going to stick it in here, and then I'm going to use the small wrench, and I'm going to adjust the tension on the cutter until I can just barely move my gauge right there. Okay, just barely slip it. That's about 0.24 millimeters. I'll go ahead and tighten the cutter back up. Okay, my cutter's tight, and just move the gauges around. So I'll tighten down the jack screw. There we go, we should be ready to cut. We set our cutter to the right distance, 0.24 millimeters. So let me clear this off. We'll plug her in and see how she goes. Oh, one more thing, there's a fitting up here. You're supposed to take this little ball bearing and you put a couple of drops of tool oil in here every time you do it. That'll lubricate your cutter. But this appears to be, has some oil on it, but I'm going to get just a little bit of tool oil and put a couple drops in here so we got a little bit of lubrication. Then we'll cut this sheet metal. We'll be ready to try it out. Okay, put a couple of drops of oil in there. I'm going to go ahead and turn it on. Ooh, look at that. Ready? So I'm going to come over here. I'm just going to try to cut a scrap piece here. I'm working on a piece. I'm going to try it. Let me zoom you on in. Oh man, that seems to work pretty nice. That zip that right off there. Alright, I gotta do a cut right across here to cut this piece of sheet metal off. Let me go ahead and try her out. Oh, that cut through there like nothing. Man, that worked pretty good. It is a little bit tricky to keep the edge straight. I don't know if you can see. Of course, it's the first time you use it, but the edge wandered up and down just a hair, like less than the 16th, but it's got a little bit of, it's real hard to keep it going straight. You gotta really watch that. But for what I'm doing, that's close enough. I can clean it up a little bit. But man, that seemed to cut through there pretty nice. So now you saw a straight line there. I'm just curious to see what this is going to do on a curved line. Let me just go ahead and like try to wing around on this piece here. Hold on. Well, it gobbled up that pretty good, made a nice radius there. Maybe a 5-6 inch radius. I wasn't really horsing it around, but it seemed to want it to be good. So yeah, it looks like it's going to work out fine for doing what I want to do here. So, man, that's not too bad. I've had bad luck with electric tools from Harbor Freight before. Hopefully this one will last for a little bit. Use it for some cutting, but it got me out of a jam today. I didn't have any tool that was sharp enough to cut this big piece of metal. And for $36, I guess I can't go wrong. Even if I only use it 10-12 times, it'll pay for itself. So I'm going to keep using it. Hopefully it'll work out good for my usage. Just a quick little review here on a cheap tool that you can get when you're in a jam at Harbor Freight. Chicago Electric power tools right there. The 18 gauge. Like a little throatless shear from Harbor Freight. So bam, there you go. You heard it here from the Quick Speed Shop. Thanks for watching. Come back. I'm doing hot rod builds, fabrication, truck builds, Jeep builds. I'm putting out videos on Wednesdays and Saturdays. Appreciate if you follow along, subscribe, tell your friends, and we'll see you again at the Quick Speed Shop.